Let's get back to something I talked about a long time ago. Joerg Sprave, and I know I killed your name, I apologize, but he wanted to start a YouTube union. And I explained why that was just a really pointless idea based on a really bad understanding of the reality behind YouTube, but apparently he persisted. I give him a lot of credit for trying. It just doesn't make his position any better. So let's revisit the issue. About a year ago, YouTuber Joerg Sprave of the Slingshot Channel produced a video calling for YouTube content creators to band together and demand better treatment from YouTube. Now, while I agree it would be great for YouTube to be more transparent and less, shall we say, politically correct, it remains their platform for which they pay all of the bills, and therefore they get to make all of the rules. Now, trust me, I'm not defending YouTube. I think Google is absolute garbage. But whether we like it or not, it is the only major game in town when it comes to video content creation. So you either need to go with what they say, or you need to pick up your ball and go play somewhere else. I really think this YouTube union just doesn't get the reality of the situation they are in. So here we go again.
Hello and welcome to FairTube. Great news today, folks. YouTube actually has carefully announced through existing contacts that they do plan to come back to our formal request to enter into negotiations before the deadline runs out. So that will be next week. We're looking forward to that, but it is yet unofficial and therefore right now we have to stay alert.
Honestly, I haven't been keeping up on this. In fact, I'd forgotten all about it until someone commented on the previous video that something had happened. The simple fact is, YouTube doesn't have to respond, and they certainly don't have to cave in. This is unofficial from what I understand, but I guess it will be interesting to see what they do if they actually decide to go on the record and try to find some common ground. But that's entirely at YouTube's whim. I think these people are strongly overplaying their hand.
But they actually have responded to the press, and we got a ton of press, like almost 50 different articles in newspapers from all around the world, I think from 9 different countries. So they have issued a statement, and we would like to dissect this now in this little video with our comebacks. And I will do that Slingshot Channel style. And my colleague Six Silverman from the IG Metal will do it in his far more professional ways, and I think that will well balance out. So, here we go.
I'm Six Silverman. Today we're recording in the headquarters building of IG Metall in Frankfurt, Germany. We're still waiting for an official response from YouTube. But they've made at least one statement about our proposal to the press. It was published in an article by Mason Sands in Forbes magazine. Today we're going to go through this statement, one sentence at a time.
So, I'll respond to both sides of this because I think both sides are still wrong. I mean, I like the idea, but the legal backing is painfully lacking. Sure, you can find a lawyer who will sue over absolutely anything, but that doesn't mean it has any chance in hell of winning in an actual court of law. So, let's get started.
We also need to ensure that users feel safe and that advertisers feel confident that YouTube is safe for their brand.
So YouTube, did you even watch our video? I mean, our demands are in no ways reducing the safety on the site, not for anyone involved.
Except, that's not how they see it. Now, I have no idea what it's like in Germany, but here in the US, where Google is based, they are very clearly expressing a political bias in pretty much everything they do. They aren't talking about physical safety. They're talking about hurting people's feelings, at least people who generally agree with them. The whole reason the rules are so vague, and that's done on purpose, is so that if anyone on their side of the political aisle complains, they can just make up a reason why it violates these ill-defined rules and delete the video, place it in limited state, or delete the account entirely. This isn't about being fair. It's about being politically correct and pushing a particular political agenda. Don't fool yourself. That's what Google as a whole does.
What we want is transparency, we want more fairness, and we want a decent communication style. How can that be dangerous? I mean, the only thing that is in danger here is your ultimate position of power, so you can do what you want and then refer to rules that you have chosen not to publish.
The problem is, they have 100% of the power, and you have none. Sure, you can raise a stink and maybe cause them some bad publicity. That's probably the only reason they're responding to this at all. It isn't in their best interest to deal with you. Otherwise, everyone with a beef can come along and threaten to go to the press to get their way. It's like negotiating with terrorists. Now, I'm not saying he's a terrorist. Far from it. I'm sure he has the best intentions at heart, but he fundamentally doesn't understand his relationship with YouTube. And I find this a lot with people who make demands, but don't comprehend why their demands are ultimately pointless. And I'll go into that a bit later when it comes up again, so please hold on.
Of course, nobody is debating that. YouTube serves the function of a public sphere, and in a public sphere, everyone deserves to feel safe.
Yes and no, because the idea of feeling safe these days, especially on places like YouTube, means that you never want to be faced with any ideas that differ from your own, even slightly. Whether people like it or not, there is a very, very distinct bias on YouTube. In fact, in pretty much anything that comes out of Silicon Valley these days. While I'll agree that YouTube needs to stop any content that openly and directly threatens violence against anyone, that's not really how it works. Threatening violence against groups that YouTube doesn't like, well, that's fine. But the second that you say something against any one of their pet political ideas, well, you're screwed. If you want to complain, that's what you ought to be complaining about. But I bet you won't get any kind of response.
Of course, creators would also love to feel safe in the knowledge that they know the rules of the game that determine their livelihoods.
And here's really where the whole thing starts to fall apart. Because YouTube content creators, and keep in mind, I'm one of them, but we are not contracted by YouTube to make videos. We choose to do so of our own free will, and then we choose to post them on a free video sharing site online. YouTube has never promised any of us that we'd get paid. In fact, I think the worst decision YouTube ever made was setting up revenue sharing. It gives the impression that making money on YouTube is a sustainable and guaranteed thing. It is not. Nowhere do you have a contract with YouTube that your content will be monetizable. You're just some guy or gal who has chosen to put videos up on YouTube and are demanding payment for them. And you are not in any kind of legally defensible position to do so. They don't owe you anything. They could shut down the YPP tomorrow, and there's nothing you can do about it. You have zero legitimate power. Remember that. You have absolutely none.
Since YouTube's spokesperson used the word safe, let's talk a little bit more about safety. How many brand managers have had their mental health suffer because of the lack of transparency of YouTube's algorithms? Maybe a couple, but probably not that many. After all, their bosses know that when ads are run against inappropriate videos, it was probably not the brand manager's fault. But the consequences of this lack of transparency for creators' mental health are increasingly well documented.
But this isn't about mental health. It's just more emotional nonsense that gets thrown around. YouTube is not responsible for your self-esteem. YouTube is a company. They are producing a product. If you don't like that product, If the product or its rules and regulation make you sad for some reason, then by all means, stop consuming the product. If you are a voluntary content creator and you don't like how YouTube is operating, then by all means, take your content elsewhere or go out and get a regular job. You will have a lot more security there as an actual employee than you do as, well, whatever you are on YouTube. You're not an independent contractor because you have no contract. You have chosen to do something for which you have no inherent security. Why in the world would you do that to yourself?
And until YouTube tells creators the rules of the game, we cannot believe that they take creators' well-being seriously. Advertisers can see exactly which videos their ads appears on. Don't creators deserve the same transparency?
No. Why would they? Why would they deserve anything? Now that's a word that gets thrown around a lot these days, as if creators are somehow stockholders in YouTube. That's almost certainly not the case. I mean, you can go buy stock, but that has nothing at all to do with being a content creator. This is what I mean. You have no power. And the last line on the page, one that most people just don't want to talk about, is the actual case. However, contrary to what is being claimed, YouTube creators are not YouTube employees by legal status. Because they're not. YouTube is a site that makes uploading videos by the general public accessible. It is not an employer of those uploaders. It has absolutely no legal, ethical, or moral obligation to those people, no matter what those people might wish to be the case. This is absolutely absurd. It's like saying that you make a product and therefore, well, Amazon or Walmart have to carry it because they're just the biggest markets around. So what? They have no obligation to you. Just because you want to be on Amazon, that doesn't mean that Amazon has to accept you. Amazon, like Walmart, like YouTube, they can all arbitrarily decide that your product doesn't fit their corporate image or their standards or anything else that doesn't violate strict scrutiny standards and boot you off their site or not accept you in the first place. You have no power here. If you're on YouTube or Amazon, it's because they allow you to be there, not because you have any legal right to do so.
We take lots of feedback as we work to get this balance right, including meeting with hundreds of creators every year.
Oh, hundreds of creators you talk to. Wow, wow. What a big number. Is Will Smith one of them? Maybe, by any chance? In fact, I am one of these creators, and I've been actually talking to YouTube for about a year and a half now. It's lots of blah blah, but nothing ever came out of that.
Because you don't deserve anything. Now, you might have a lot of subscribers, and YouTube might want you to stick around because it makes them a lot of money, but they have no obligation to you. Now, I don't know how much ad revenue the Slingshot channel makes for YouTube, but it isn't anything compared to the collective number of unboxing videos or the collective number of cat videos or anything like that. Even if you want to pretend that all 2.2 million subscribers will leave YouTube entirely and never come back if the Slingshot channel goes somewhere else, and we know that's not true, so what? YouTube users watch more than 5 billion, that's billion with a B, videos a day. Your 2.2 million subscribers just don't matter. It's a drop in the bucket. It's less than a drop in the bucket. And the more problems that you cause for YouTube, the less they care about keeping you happy, no matter how many subscribers you have. How many unboxing channels out there are just taking what they get and not causing waves? Tons? They have far more subscribers collectively than the Slingshot channel does. If the idea is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, I really don't think that's applicable here. The squeaky wheel gets taken off and replaced from a bin of near infinite wheels.
So there's no result, and this has to end. I think the only way how YouTube will move is if we apply pressure, and that is exactly what we're doing.
But you have no legitimate pressure to exert. Sure, you can get 50 articles written in a year, which is really nothing, and has no overall social impact, but otherwise, what do? Take them to court like the recent class action suit by a bunch of LGBT creators are doing? It's going to get laughed out of the courtroom. Why? Because these people have absolutely no legal standing whatsoever. They are not being discriminated against because they're gay. They're being demonetized and declared advertiser unfriendly, mostly because they're producing near pornographic content. Advertisers don't want to be on that, and I don't blame them. So this whole thing is just silly.
That's good. But hundreds of creators is really a drop in the ocean. The YouTubers Union is just getting started, and we have 21,000 members.
21,000 members is a drop in the bucket too. Remember, 5 billion videos watched every single day. YouTube estimates that they have 50 million active content creators at present. Why would they want to keep 21,000 troublemakers around when they can all be easily replaced? According to Social Blade, the Slingshot channel isn't in the top 100 channels on YouTube. I know, I looked. It's not even in the top 500. So, I'm sorry to say, it isn't like you carry a lot of weight here.
Here are a couple questions. Which creators is YouTube talking to?
It doesn't really matter. The ones that make them the most money, I'm sure. Because here's something that nobody wants to talk about. YouTube is a business. As a business, it exists to make money. It is not a charity. It's not there to make you happy. It is not your employer. It costs a ton of money just to keep the server farms going. So yes, they are going to talk to the people that make them the most money because those are the people that they rely on the most. Why is this so hard for people to understand?
Is it mostly the celebrities who are already getting their content pushed on the platform and who have different rules for what they're allowed to put in their videos without being demonetized? What does YouTube talk about with these creators that they talk to? What effect do these discussions have on decisions that are made about the platform? Why do some creators get heard while thousands of others can't even talk to a human being about a demonetization decision?
Because they simply don't have enough influence. Seriously, these aren't hard questions. You just don't like the answers. Having real people costs more money, so YouTube is simply using their resources in the most effective and efficient manner possible. It's not up to you what YouTube does. Being a content creator on YouTube is entirely voluntary. If you don't like how they operate or how they treat you, then by all means, find a competitor who is better. But nobody wants to do that, do they?
YouTube says that they're working to get the balance right. But talking about this situation as striking a balance misses the point. In California, where I come from, the highway speed limit in cities is 65 miles per hour. We can only discuss whether this number is too high or too low because we know what the number is. On YouTube, all we know is that for most creators, there appears to be a speed limit. It's probably somewhere between 25 and 100 miles per hour. But we don't know what it is exactly because YouTube won't say.
Nor do they have to. And this is what drives me crazy about all of these people. They totally misunderstand their position in this. They are not equal partners with YouTube. They are just people who have chosen of their own free will to upload videos to YouTube for free, a service which YouTube provides not for the benefit of the content creator, but for the benefit of YouTube and their parent companies and their shareholders. It's how they make money. No one ever promised that you could make a living off of this. YouTube doesn't owe you anything at all except what they have promised or what is required of them under the law. Nowhere in their terms of service do they promise that you can make a living and they will support you. Nowhere do they say that they will be transparent. Nowhere do they have any legally binding promises to anyone. Get over it.
YouTube has the right to decide what the speed limit is. It even has the right to say for some creators it's going to be different. But we want to know what it is.
That's nice. You just have no right to know what it is. That's the part you're not getting. What you want doesn't matter. YouTube has no obligation at all to tell you anything that they don't want to tell you. Again, accepting that which is mandated by law. They can change the rules every day, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Whether or not you like it is entirely irrelevant.
However, contrary to what is being claimed, YouTube creators are not employees by legal status.
Right, for sure. We aren't employees. So we don't get minimum wages, we don't get vacation, we don't get social benefits. Very comfortable for you, isn't it?
Because what you're doing is a hobby, not a job. Now, you may try, and note that I'm saying try, to make money off of it. You're welcome to try to monetize anything in your life. I don't care. I'm fine with that. But you still don't have any kind of guarantee for anything from YouTube. No one does. People need to stop pretending that YouTube is their employer. They're not. They're a free site on the internet that allows people to upload videos for free to their site. That's all they are. They have agreed, out of, the kindness of their heart, to share some of that ad revenue that they make with some content creators. Not all, and certainly not equally, but they have chosen to do that. They don't have to. They don't owe you. They could shut down the YPP tomorrow and entirely end all revenue sharing on the site, and there isn't a damn thing you can do about it. You don't deserve any of this. You did nothing to earn it. You aren't paying YouTube for server space. You aren't paying them for anything. You just have your hand out. Knock it off!
But guess what? We aren't independent video producers either.
Absolutely you are. You can post those videos anywhere you want. You can go out and rent your own server farms and post all of your videos there and try to charge people to watch them and make all of the money. That's entirely up to you. What else do you call what you do?
In fact, we're completely depending on YouTube.
You choose to depend on YouTube. That's your choice. Because, again, let's try to find our way back to reality. You made the personal decision to make videos and post them on a free video service without any legal guarantee that you could make any money on it at all. If you think otherwise, you are mistaken. That is not your position here. You are hoping to make a buck. You are not guaranteed to make a buck. You have no contract with YouTube whatsoever. They don't owe you anything except for whatever aforementioned legal requirements that they might have. You have bad expectations of this relationship. It isn't a relationship. It's all completely one-sided.
We are at your mercy. We actually have to follow your mysterious ways. You kick us around, you destroy our work without even so much as an explanation for it.
Yep. And if you don't like it, take your work elsewhere. I mean, this can't be that hard to understand, can it? It keeps coming back to a gross misunderstanding of the position that you're in. You did this to yourself, and now you're demanding that YouTube fix it. That's not how it works.
You know, independent video production companies usually have lots of customers. And do you think that if we would have an alternative, we would really stick around for just one day longer?
You do have alternatives. You just don't like them. See, if you were an actual professional video production business, you'd have to pay your own way. You'd have to pay for your own servers and your own bandwidth costs and your own advertising and all of that. You'd have to earn customers, and you do that by spending money. But nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to invest in their so-called online business. They just want to take all the free stuff offered by YouTube and demand more. And they don't have to give you any more. They don't have to give you what you're getting now. Why can't you get that through your head?
You know, that's an illusion. We only stay on YouTube because there is no alternative.
Sure there is. You just don't like them. You don't want to have to pay all the upfront costs that setting up your own business requires. Oh, but I can't afford that. Well, too bad. If you want the power, you have to pay your own way, and you're not willing to do that. Figure out your place in all of this. It isn't where you seem to think.
So, we aren't employees, but we aren't partners either. What are we?
You're some guy uploading videos to a free video sharing site online. That's all you are. That's all I am. That's all any of us are. Anything else that you want to think that you are, that's all in your head.
You know what, YouTube? Slavery has been abducted a long, long time ago. I think in most, if not in all, the countries that you are active in.
Who is forcing you to make videos? This is just ridiculous. Nobody has a gun to your head and is making you upload to YouTube. Well, this is the only way I can make money. Well, that's your problem. It's not YouTube's problem, it's yours. You need to deal with it. You need to have a realistic view of the world and your place in it. And unfortunately, far too many simply do not.
It would, of course, be very illuminating for us to see YouTube's legal analysis of this question. But one thing is clear. YouTube's guidelines let YouTube control creators in ways that are not consistent with the traditional freedoms of truly independent contractors.
They're not independent contractors. They have no contract. Not one of them, so far as I know, have ever signed a legally binding contract with YouTube with Susan Wojcicki's name on the dotted line. That's not the position that you're in. It simply isn't. And you call yourself a lawyer.
Most creators are not really independent businesses with a bunch of different clients, beside YouTube, acting in an open market with fair competition.
Nor did anyone tell them they would be. I mean, I can only speak in vague generalities here, but how many YouTube content creators are actually legally registered businesses? Not many, I'd say. It's some guy in his bedroom making videos for fun and expecting to make a living out of it. These people have no power at all, and they should have no expectations of any. Just because you wish that you did doesn't mean that you do. Go get a real job. At least then you'll have some guarantees.
The lack of transparency around monetization and search and discovery mean that the market is not open. We know that competition on the platform is not fair. The data that we have, for example, suggests very strongly that content from big corporate channels is shown much more often in trending than content from independent creators.
Of course it is. It's where YouTube makes the most money. They are advertising their own cash cows. Why is this so hard for you to comprehend?
And YouTube explicitly prohibits creators from embedding their own ads in videos. So there are serious limitations on the independence of YouTube creators.
But it doesn't prohibit people from setting up Patreon accounts or getting direct sponsorships. People do it all the time. How many channels are getting money from sponsors and doing in-video ads for those products? Tons of them! You can do that. You just can't take pre-existing ads and stick them in the middle of your video.
Really, YouTube, like Uber and Lyft, gets the best of both worlds. It doesn't have any of the responsibilities it would have if it hired creators as employees. But it still gets extremely fine control over content, and it gets to impose certain non-compete restrictions.
No, there aren't. If you don't like it, leave. There you go. No limitations.
Which aren't really consistent with the idea of independent businesses competing fairly in an open market.
Which this isn't. And YouTube doesn't stop you from posting your videos all over town. You want to post on BitChute? Go ahead. Facebook? Knock yourself out. Minds? Help yourself. Any of dozens and dozens of other video sharing sites? Put your damn videos wherever you want. They're not putting any restrictions on you. Because if they did, you'd actually have to sign a contract with them. Where's yours?
Creators, on the other hand, have the worst of both worlds. They don't have any of the protections they would have if they were employees, but neither do they have the freedom of truly independent contractors.
Because they're neither one of those. If they want to be truly independent contractors, first off, you'd have to have YouTube willing to sign a contract with them, which they aren't going to do. But you'd also have to be paying all of your own upfront costs, which most content creators aren't willing to do. It's a distinct downside to doing quote-unquote business online like this. It's like having an Etsy shop. You can sign up for one, you can make things and sell them, but if Etsy decides they no longer want you on their site, you have no options. They don't owe you anything. If you break their rules, even if they don't want to tell you what those rules are, they can boot you off for any reason at all, or, let's be honest, for no discernible reason at all. So long as it doesn't break existing laws, they can do what they want. But keep in mind, all of this is voluntary. You chose to do this. Nobody promised that you'd be successful or safe or anything else. It's like renting a table at a swap meet and selling stuff. Nobody says the swap meet has to keep renting you the table week after week after week. They can tell you they don't like what you're selling and rent it to someone else. They don't even have to tell you why they don't like it. You have no recourse other than going to find another swap meet. If you don't like YouTube, go find another video sharing site. It's that simple.
YouTube can make a huge step towards solving these problems really easily. Give creators more transparency. Tell creators the rules.
Or the creators could just figure out their actual positions in these dealings and stop expecting things that they have absolutely no right to expect. But yeah, that's not emotionally comforting, is it?
So folks, that was our little comeback. I hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned because we might have very exciting news for you next week. Thanks and bye-bye.
I mean, I get why these people are frustrated. I get frustrated too. But you have to have a realistic view of your actual place in all of this. I, like them, I'm just a guy who likes making videos online. This isn't my job. I would never rely on this. Even if I was making a six-figure salary off of YouTube, I still wouldn't rely on it because it is not, by its very nature, reliable. It can't be. YouTube doesn't owe me a thing. I know they're a crappy company. I know Google is a crappy company. I know pretty much everyone in Silicon Valley is garbage. Some of it I tolerate. Most of it I reject. But I don't trust them, I don't rely on them, and I won't tie my future to their companies. And neither should you. Now, it's cool if you want to upload things to YouTube or any other video sharing platform. Do it because you enjoy it. Do it because you have something to say. Don't do it to put food on your table. Don't do it as a form of personal validation, because it could all go away tomorrow and there isn't a damn thing you can do about it. Understand what's really going on. Don't pretend that you have more power than you do. You're only going to be disappointed in the end.
bum.